Alrighty. Hi everyone, welcome back to my lab. Today we're going to be checking out my shoes that I've been working on. So let me see, let's get my actual software. Nice, now that's an actual view. Okay, so I just finished these up for the most part. Now they need a few finishing touches. I made a few oopsies, and I'll run you through here once I move on to this, with this bigger, better view here. Not as important to see my face. So yeah, I have a miniature head now around where my actual head is, but hopefully this is probably going to be a pretty hectic stream because I'm not really sure what I'm doing as far as the camera setup. Of course, Bean is circling me, stresses me out. Okay, so you can see that this here is the sewing machine that I've been basically trying to learn how to use while I've also been trying to revamp these. So my main goal with this was to just see how good of a result I could get with fixing up the live edge in some way, shape, or form. And I liked this gray thinner. Got to figure out where my camera actually is here. It's actually getting in the light. Okay. Probably did this backwards. Okay. So I liked this gray leather. I honestly forget the thicknesses. It's basically like a 2mm thick leather, and I glued it here. This is kind of, this isn't great workmanship, but I've mostly been trying to get the stitching to work properly. So if you can see, like this, I think this was the second one that I did. Yeah, this wasn't the first shoe. Bean's driving me nuts. He wants to jump on me now. Okay, all right. This was the first one I did. So this one is way rougher. I was really struggling. This machine has a significant learning curve. And if you look at even like my leather working, I should have done what's called it's called skiving. Okay, so like if you look at, I basically just traded one live edge for another because this maybe looks a little bit better than just having the live edge that originally existed here. But then I'm just putting another one here. So the idea with skiving is that you I take a piece of the leather. Can I sit here, Mr. King? Here. Okay, so the idea behind skiving would be in order to eliminate this edge here, which just doesn't look as aesthetically pleasing as if it was totally folded over like this, which is what I was trying, the look I was trying to do on the live edge of the original shoe. Is the only problem with it is that when you fold it over, you're doubling up the thickness of the leather. So the idea is that with skiving, you basically you make a mark where you're going to fold it over to, and then you eventually stitch that seam, okay, where it's folded over. But you need to cut away some of the material so that when you fold it over, it isn't super thick and like looks abnormal, like it's protruding, And that can also cause problems where if you haven't done that properly, depending on the fit of your shoe, like at pressure points where you have the shoe overlapping itself. So like at this point here where I put it on, okay, like if you don't account for that and the shoe is already too narrow, then it could pinch your foot and be uncomfortable. And like these shoes are so absurdly wide that that has introduced a couple other problems, but they're so wide that it's super accommodating in that part where there's the connection between the tongue and then the side panels of the upper, right? So in the future, like when I do a similar pair to this, I want to like do a refined version, not like take everything that I learned with this and then like do a more professional version, especially now that I'm like more comfortable with the machine here. And the other thing is I kind of did this backwards because I realistically, when I pulled the upper off of the sole, I was pretty much already at the point where I had the upper pulled totally apart, and I could have, like I said, like skived this and then, did true paneling. And I'm also thinking about like what parts of this I actually want to use the heavier duty leather on, and then I might even skive this 2mm down if possible to then like overlap this so that there's like basically no protrusion at the seam. And like these things are can be important. Like you can't have protruding seams like in this part because it's especially like here because that's where your foot is pushing up against the shoe on the inside. Um, so things to think about. These you can see these eyelets are just coming off. It's really irritating. I'm frustrated. When I move the camera over to do some of the other work on this, I'll show you like what's happening. If you look at this, you can kind of see like a doubling effect, kind of, maybe in the right light. I would need to zoom the camera in probably. But like basically it looks like they just gave me the wrong size seat, like to actually press these, and it's just not like it's like donating out. It's like making a separate rim, and like if I get it dead center, then it kind of looks okay, maybe even kind of cool. But I mean, I would have preferred if it was just the right size, so I didn't have to deal with this. And then beyond that, I'm dealing with like I got these heavier eyelets because I knew that I was going to be increasing the thickness significantly by doing what I was planning on doing by wrapping this over the live edge. Um, and even so, I had to mutilate this on the inside to actually like get it to the right thickness where the eyelets will grab. And even so, like some of these are failing. And so it's a learning experience. Oh yeah, and then this is the best thing. So this is what I'm actually gonna do right now. Is I just you try to pay attention to everything, and then you wind up messing certain things up. And like I actually I was using a spacing tool that I made, but I somehow put 6 eyelet holes on this side and only 5 on this side, and I did 5 on the other shoe too. So I tried like shifting the hole over a little bit and playing a little wiggle room with it, but I think what I need to do is just actually pull this off and redo it as well as I can. I mean, they're already rough. I mean, I accept and know that. So like, I'll just I'll do my best to rip this off of here, show you how you can break the stitches, and then I'll restitch it on the machine, and hopefully the results will be halfway decent. They're actually, so even though I've made some mistakes with these, they're super comfortable, and the sole is totally 3D printed, and it's got a couple insoles in there that are also 3D printed. It's printed out of VarioShore, Color Fab VarioShore, 230C at 70% flow, I believe is what I did, and they're nice. I mean, I did the original sole on this, and I like switched the settings halfway through, so I had a mix. I had like the idea behind the VarioShore is that if you print it at a low temperature, then it's 95 Shore, and then as you increase the temperature, the baking soda that they put inside of it turns into carbon dioxide and bubbles up. So then you get a foaming effect, and that can change your shore hardness significantly. So the whole idea is you can get all the way down to 55 Shore, and I haven't tested this, but I mean it's acceptable. What happened on the original one was that I printed it so cold. I think I printed it at like 195, which was a mistake because TPU is supposed to be printed at like, I print other TPUs at 225, or even 235. I think is what I'm up to if I try to push the speed on it. So like, I don't know. I mean, I got a good foaming effect at 230 on this, so just take that for what you will. Something else that's interesting that I learned is I made a DIY 3D printer pen, and hopefully we can get a good picture of this. You can see where this is cruddy here. Well, what happened was that I didn't have my fan settings right, and like they say to use as little fan as possible on the VarioShore, especially when you're foaming it. I'm gonna check the chat, make sure no one chatted. No one's even watching. When I built the crud gun, which is what I'm calling it, the printer filament pen, is I put the original E3D heater block on it, and I currently have a volcano block on my actual printer. And like, even though I have this set up to 230C, and I'm pretty confident that that's correct, that it I thermostatically was controlling it, heating the element, and I had it set to 230. I think that your heating window, whatever they call it, the heat chamber length, is relevant to like how much it actually foams up. So I had it at the same temp, but because it had less time to be at that temp, I think it didn't foam as much, and so now it's like kind of brown. So I'm gonna probably sand it down a little bit more, and then I need to modify the crud gun to actually have the volcano block, and I think I should be able to get over this problem of the inconsistency. Um, what else did I do wrong? So I started on the back of this sole here, okay, and like I used my same method as last time, where I took a Dremel and with a pretty small bit, I think like a 16th inch bit, and I marked, you know, every centimeter a hole on this ridge that I designed into the sole, and just zzz, 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 and like what I eventually realized though is that especially with this foamed up as much as it is, I could just push my wrong tool. I think it's over on the other side. Basically my speedy stitcher, it looks a lot like this, but this is just an awl, but the speedy stitcher to actually like do the hand stitching stuff for the sole, and I also hand stitched this. Originally the whole shoe was hand stitched, but then I've been trying to do the machining too. But like what I realized is that the stitching tool will just go right through this stuff. God, now I can actually coordinate here. So it would have been better if I just used the dots that I made and just poked right through it. And then something else that I learned to do is I learned to, like, one thing that I ran into is that, and I didn't understand why, was that this was like really popping out badly, like on my last iteration, like the back heel part. I thought that it was purely because the shoe wasn't long, the sole wasn't long enough, and I think that is true partially. So I made this one like maybe 5% longer, 10% longer. But then also the other problem was that I made it so shallow here in the back on the first iteration, like considering where the ridge was, the channel was to put the stitching, that like I was hitting the bottom of the upper, okay, and like what that slowly did over time was it just pulled it out like this and then bulged it up, and like so I didn't do a great job on this one, which I might eventually try to rectify. But then on this one, I realized what the ideal method was, and like I was basically like poking in and then choking up a little bit to like pull the sole down into the upper down into the sole, and you can see it's really nicely tightly in there now, and like I mean it was crazy. The original shoe, like it totally came apart here at the sewing seam, because like my reasoning was I thought that it would be stronger and like more resilient if I printed it at that lower temperature and had a higher shore. You know, I thought that would be stronger, but it was actually the opposite. Like, and I think that it was, you know, it would probably be a sweet spot between what I did and then like what I was originally planning on doing, where like if I printed it at 210, then it would maybe foam a little bit and I'd get really good layer adhesion. And like that's the key with this foaming stuff. It seems like it's like, even though it's technically less material and it should be weaker because it's foamed, like because it adheres to itself so well, and there's a bit of overlap on the foaming effect, that it's just super strong. And like so I have a lot of confidence that this is going to hold up. And like one thing I'm concerned about is that like because I drilled these holes out and because I probably should have made this a little bit more robust where the seam is, like I'm worried that might fail this time still anyway. But like I don't know, but I definitely don't think it's going to wear out on the bottom like it did, where it was like it was pulling apart. The layers were pulling apart from each other. I think I threw it out the others. Yeah, it's already ripped apart because I decided to resole them, so I just kind of tore at it. But it was wild. Like it was totally coming apart here, and but those hand stitched the hand stitched not heavy duty wax nylon is just so strong that it just held together. So I don't know. I mean, one thing that I have considered is that like by doing this cup sole methodology, like you inevitably run into the problem of like, let me see if I can ever get this in shot. I'm not good at this. Right here, like and on the other side too, you'll get like this cavity that'll open up, and it'll want to like, and you'll get dirt in there very easily, and then the glue that you use will just give up, and then it'll just get worse and worse. As long as it's, you know, stitched well and the sole itself doesn't start pulling apart, then it seems like it doesn't really matter much. But yeah, I mean, just evidenced by the fact that like it was stitched well in the front and the back, and it still held up really well. What I considered is maybe doing like a Goodyear welt type, and I did with the machine too. So then I wouldn't even have to hand stitch you know, the sole to the upper. And there are a number of advantages to the Goodyear welt. Like it eliminates that problem, like I'm explaining with the cup sole. And then it's supposedly stronger. One disadvantage though is that like by putting the stitching all the way through to the bottom here, even if you put it in a channel that's recessed or whatever, and you manage to hit that when you're going around, if you're stepping in water, then the stitch is gonna work like a wick and just wick it right up into the upper. Then yeah, the upper is like only attached to the stitching around the outside, but it will slowly make your shoe wet. So I've been trying to think about ways to get around that. I'm not really sure what I was thinking. Like maybe you sew the upper to one sole, and then you have like a lower sole that somehow you could stitch onto it, but with separate stitches, so that like there would be a barrier between the water on the bottom and then the stitch that's actually up to the upper. But then it gets a little tricky as far as how to actually pull that off. All right, but no more talking. Let's just get down to the dirty business. All right, so this is the problem side. Let me take this out. And you can see that there's just one extra hole. And like it's like it would have been hard for me to do it with without purposefully if I was purposefully trying to do it. But yep. Okay. So anyway, what my plan is just to pull this off. And the thing is that this gray leather, like along with along with this heavy duty veg tan, is so strong. So like I'm confident I can put the eyelet just into the gray, and like this can be pretty mutilated, you know, as far as like the original leather, and it should be fine. So all right, now the upsetting part, the thing I've not wanted to do. I'm just gonna break all these. Break them from the inside, I've found. And like I'm kind of using the wrong tool, but I'm gonna mutilate this leather anyway. Let me see if I can get what I'm doing. Nope, showing me the wrong side. Smart. All right, so I'm just sticking the awl underneath the stitches and just pulling up. And you break them from the inside if you can, because then they'll just pull out from the other side essentially. And do it like depends on how tight the stitching is, and I mean meaning like how tightly spaced it is, like how many you want to go. But I do like 5 or 6 generally to start, depending also on like the geometry of where it's going. And something else I'd like to try to do, which is actually on the other shoe, but this one needs it too, is you can see here, like where this is pulling apart. I had originally hand stitched this, which maybe I should just try to, maybe I should put a couple hand stitches in there. I don't know. Could do that. That would make it really strong. But I think I'm gonna try. I'll try to stuff it in the machine here and see if I can get it to actually work. And then if that fails, then I'll just hand stitch it. But the machine is. I'll show you what I did to this machine because it's pretty sweet. It's challenging to use it the hand cranked way with shoes, and like I anticipated that, so I motorized it with a drill, and I'll show you how I managed that. But let's just keep going here. Now, was I was conflicted as far as like what to do with this part here. So one thing I did way better on this was my seams, like right here and right here. They're still not great, but it's way better than the other shoe. But what I did was that instead of putting the seam like a miter edge, 40 like just diagonally, I did like one piece and then another piece, and then if you can see what I mean, and it came out way nicer. Just as a comparison, this is, you can see it's fugglier, and I was way happier with how this came out. Other than then I goofed it up by putting 6 holes in it. Hell yeah! And I wasn't sure if I wanted to leave this little patch here where this hole is actually already good, or if I wanted to redo this whole thing. I think I'm just going to redo the whole thing. I think that it's easiest that way. Just put the hole back in the same spot. I'm using this this leather glue. I don't know what to think about it. I leather 50. It seems like just super glue to me. Some kind of fancy super glue, but it works fine enough. If you're a real professional, you should be using the barge stuff that I use to put the sole onto the upper, like only that. You're not supposed to use anything else. But I don't have the patience or the skill for it yet, so we're not doing that. Did I go a little too far here? Yeah, that's okay though. I wanted to cut this out. Now, something that's going to be tricky about this is actually, it sucks because like to actually see what I'm doing is very difficult. But you need to take into account where your thread is at, like whether it's on the inside or the outside, and then like tying it off at the end. And then I also have to take into account like where I'm going to start and finish my runs here, because it's you want to do as many straight shots as possible. You don't want to make turns if you can help it. So you want to plan your routes. Now there's also a difference. Now this is actually pretty it's terrible, but I'll probably put a hand stitch in here. So I'm mostly putting this in for aesthetics and to hold this edging piece in right now. I'm not doing it for structural ability, which is like here, but it's bad on the other one. That's where I gotta fix it. So we'll see if like it's gonna be tricky to stick the whole shoe like onto this horn or whatever it's called, and then get. It's not hard for it to get through all the layers of leather. That's cake, but like actually just getting it in position is another story. So, all right, look at those giant holes in this. Multiple holes. Should be fine. Okay, something else I wanted to do. I think I'm just gonna do this quick rather than. Oh wait, is this already straight? Yeah, this is a straight edge. We'll just use this. I'll show you how I'll cut a piece. Hopefully with this. This is actually a linoleum knife, but it's basically like a big version of a trimming knife. So I wanted to try that out. Sharpened it up. First things first. This loose thread here on this corner. I guess I'll start from here and go up. So I'll glue this down and tie this off, and then they say to burn the ends, and like this is nylon thread, so it does melt. It's trickier when it's thin like this. This is T 69 thread, I believe. I think they say B rather than T, which I don't really understand, but it's a basic system where whether it's B or T, it's probably a different standard. But it's just the idea of like a set length of thread is a certain weight. Okay, so then like the heavier gauge the thread is, the same length of it will be heavier. And so I got T30 to start with because I didn't know what this machine could handle, and it did that fine, but that was just not the right size stitching that I wanted for this. So I went all the way up to 69, and this works great. It's pretty much exactly the right size. I just have to make it actually work properly. But all right, let's see. Burn this. I generally like press it down. I'm hoping that I'm like melting the knot and then pressing it into itself. Probably gonna run out of glue. I have another bottle somewhere. You really don't want to overdo it with this, but it is pretty easy to underdo it too. It's kind of frustrating, but when you overdo it, it's a mess, and when you underdo it, it just doesn't work. And technically, I'm sure you're supposed to clean the leather and everything first, and all that good stuff. Nobody got time for that. Okay, now how you pull this? See this thread sticking out here? How you pull it through to the other side is you just see the other thread that's loose in the same position and pull on it, and then you'll see the loop. This loop sticking through, and then you just pull that loop, and then it'll come through, and then it's on the inside now. Not rocket science, but you know, what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna cheat a little. Well, should I cheat? Can I actually get a loop in this? Let's see. Should be able to. It's also fraying, so that's fine. Sorry if my audio isn't as good this time. I'm just using the laptop mic. Okay, I'm just gonna glue this one. Hopefully it stays. I don't really know the right procedure for that. I'm just gonna put a bit of glue there and chop it. Okay. And sometimes it just doesn't stick. And you gotta put more. And the one thing that's important with this, and I don't even know if this is technically a correct technique at all, but just when you're rolling this over the edge, you have to press it, like you have to finesse it from the side, and like you can't just press it down on the other side because then you'll get lumps and it just won't be even and it'll look kind of cruddy. You gotta be careful about it, and because it sticks immediately, and then if you want to reposition it, if you reposition it with this glue, just like super glue, it just breaks and then it doesn't work properly for the most part unless there's enough of it to like excess. This is kind of a mess up here. I gotta be careful. Oops. That I actually do this right, because if I don't, these will start coming apart. So, might need some tweezers. These tweezers are screwed. They don't want to grab for me. I think I'm just gonna glue it. I'm cheating. I'm cheating. Okay. Okay. So, I know where this needs to go, because I made a line, I scratched a line on here. So I'm basically just going to load it up with a ton of glue, and I'm just going to lay it on there. And I've already got this straight piece. It's actually perfect. Pretty much. Wow. Look at that. Wow. Well, it's actually just shy of perfect, because I want it to like wrap over here. It doesn't really make a big difference. Yeah. It's like just short, because it's actually the perfect length. Okay, well, we're gonna cut a bigger piece. Let's see how this operates moving this over here. Still going? Oh yeah, okay, we're still going. So this is mutilated. I was getting frustrated and just cutting willy-nilly, so I need to make a new straight edge on this. Let's make sure we actually get a good one. Okay, now this is how I imagine this going in my mind. Still getting this. How badly is it not in the shot? No, that didn't work at all. Have an X-Acto. Think about this for a second. I think I'm actually. I've used a box cutter before, and that works fairly well. Let me see if I can find my box cutter. Alright, here we go. Now, these things are dangerous. Probably the most dangerous tool in the shop, so be very careful. Oh yeah, like butter. Did it actually go through it? Didn't go through it. Alright, maybe I need a new edge. Okay, it's gonna do it this time. Okay. Oh, it's so terrible. I guess this stuff is harder to cut straight than the veg tan. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna first of all, well, actually, that's actually already a pretty straight line. So let's move this over here. And I'm basically just gonna use these. These are reliable on this. This scissors seem to be the best, but so now I'm just gonna cut along that as carefully as possible. Bean, stop looking plastic, please. Use that as a score line, basically, and then the scissors just go right along. Okay, that's fairly acceptable now. Stop licking the plastic, please. God. Yeah, good. Jump down. Stop licking the plastic. Make sure this is flush, all this residue. Bean, stop. Really, should I? Yeah, it'll be fine. Okay. I thought about sanding this for a second, but it's not necessary. Alright. So now this is plenty to do what I want to do. Perfect. Okay. Alright, so okay. That seemed pretty good. Just for the most part stuck down now. Now, I am not proud at all of my leatherworking skills on this particular on the edging and stuff of this. So I hope you don't get it crooked here. I'm just trying to make it functional and like I'm trying to learn and teach myself as we go here. That being said, trying to figure out what the best way to do this is. There was no elegant way to do it, really. I was just slowly going with my side cutters, my little precision snippies, and trying to cut it as straight of an edge as possible after I glued it down, which I think is basically my plan here. But here's the thing, I'm not going to go all the way down as to where I did before. I'm only going to get the top edge here, because that's how I did the other one too, the other shoe, and that turned out better, because then I didn't have to cut it out to actually put the eyelets in. Oops, that was a little excessive. Okay, now here's what I was talking about as far as like rolling the edge. Like you gotta be careful here. Close. Put too much glue in the one spot there. That's a corner. For me to make this seam, I gotta be careful. Okay. Yeah, I should have avoided putting it in the corner as much, because then basically I'm just taking this pinch here and just cutting it. Now I want to make sure I give myself enough to actually stitch on, but not so much that it covers the eyelets basically. So let's see how I can accomplish that. Could have done better on that. Some glue finesse. Cut a little too much off. Should be okay. Getting hot. Getting mega hot. Really, I could have done a better job on that. A little irritated. Oh well. This one came out good because I didn't have to actually cut it. The inside came out better than the outside. Oh well. Good enough. Now, now that we're glued, it really is time to sew this. It shouldn't be an issue. There's an eyelet in here, but I don't think it's so far off it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so we're gonna start. This always confuses me. I'm still not good at this at all. So we want to feed it into the machine. Okay, let's see here. Oh, yeah, I guess I'll show you. I guess I'll show you what I did here as far as the motorization and stuff. All right. So, I guess I'll just hold this. All right. So this is a Chinese leather sewing machine, and it's fully mechanical. And the idea is that it's hand crank. So you can see the hand crank here. And under normal circumstances, you would just turn this by hand and then manipulate whatever piece of leather you were trying to stitch or whatever with this hand. And the foot is, you can change the direction of it. Let me make sure my lens is clean. You can change the direction of the foot, so where you're feeding it. It seems like it behaves a little bit differently depending on what direction it's going in, which is a little frustrating. Like the stitches will be longer or shorter depending on where the foot is, which direction it's going in, which that might just have been another separate issue. But I don't know. That was my experience. But something that was also weird on mine is this here. I guess I've got the other view here. Now, normally, and it even shows in the picture that like there's supposed to be a hole here inside of this piece, and this is supposed to be like a bigger like piece with an extra hole in it, and it like bellies out here. But mine just doesn't have that, so I don't know how relevant it was. I did run the machine without putting it through this spring, but I put a spring here just to guide it. And I've talked to a couple people, and they've said that like you're going to be re-tensioning and screwing with how this is threaded, depending on what you're doing and like what thread is on there. This has been a functional pattern so far for me with this particular thread, and I've gotten pretty good results. Might be a little loose, I'm not sure. So I designed and built not only the stand or the base, whatever you want to call it, that this is on, okay, but also this pulley system with this belt. So this belt is actually TPU. I printed this belt, and I designed the mating teeth or whatever you want to call them. I don't know the terminology, but this is also rubbing a little bit. That's not really ideal. I didn't realize that. I have to change the geometry of these tensioners a little bit, but these tensioners are just tensioned up from the back here, with an Allen bolt, and they're just pulling this back and tightening up the belt on it, and it works pretty well. It'll bind up, it'll get to the point where it's gotten jammed up with thread so bad that I can't even turn it by hand. So at that point, yeah, it won't work, but otherwise it's pretty reliable. And I designed and 3D printed this trigger pulling mechanism too, which isn't the best, but it does work. And it's kind of perfect for it because it first of all, like I've run it on one battery charge and haven't had to recharge, and I'm not sure how close I am to the end of this one, but it seems efficient in that regard. It's portable. I can just take this right off of the bit here, and then beyond that, like there's speed control built into the trigger, so it's kind of great. And then I just got like a traditional bike brake cable and hooked it into this foot pedal. And if anyone's interested, you can just ask, and I'll send you files or whatever. But yeah, pretty neat. So I'll show you here when I hit this pedal, it'll stroke. Pretty neat. But okay, let's try to actually use this thing. It's gonna take me a second to get this. Okay, so here it is. We're going to try to put a stitch right along on this upper edge here. Let me see. Let me see how good I can actually. I'm going to need to re-latch this, I think, to get a good enough view. Actually, I have an idea. I have an idea. Yeah, pretty neat. Okay. Let's see. The camera might get in the way. We'll see. All right, I think I'm going to feed it from the back to the front here. Now, first of all, I've got to thread the needle. So, jog it. I think I must have this drill on full blast. It seems like it's jogging awfully quick. Let's see here. What do we got on? Oh, yeah, it's on 3. Oh. That's better. I don't want to jam it. You got to be careful. Much better. Okay. Okay. We're going to start. We're going to start real easy. We're just going to go on this top stitch and lay it down. Try to line this up as well as I can. Okay. It would be really cool if you could actually see this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to accomplish that. Okay, so here we go. Ah, broke it. Alright, so what happened here? Let's see what happened. Why did my thread break? I don't know. That's kind of a weird one to me. Okay, well, we didn't get that far anyway, so we'll just pull it out, redo it quick. It's been a little bit of a challenge to get this to work properly. Now, everything looks right here, right? Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Alright, okay, let's try to go again. So I'm sure that there are a lot of people who could take me to school on this machine. The idea was that, like, I like the idea of this machine because I could motorize it myself, which other people have done. Just I don't think anyone's done it with a drill, but I like people have done it. But and just the fact that everything's exposed and it is what it is. You know, it's just basic cams and mechanical interaction here, and it works. You know, there's no computer or anything. It just works. So. like it broke it right on the same spot. You heard the belt flip there too, right? Yeah. All right. So when this happens, jog it backwards. Oops. It might be that I'm hitting this glue or something, that like a giant glue glob that I screwed myself with here. Oops. Careful. Let's look inside of here. Maybe there's a piece of thread screwing stuff up. Yeah. Weird. Okay. We're gonna get it. I don't know why it's struggling right now. Do with my threading tool now. This is an interesting little doohickey. This little springy piece of metal goes up inside of this. And then you hook it up at the top so you can thread it through. I'm not sure why this keeps breaking. Getting a little irritating. Break up the glue. I don't know. That's just a theory. Why is it struggling? What's happening? I think that maybe the needle is like not hitting the hole, basically, is what's happening, but I don't know why. Every time I want to switch directions, I gotta switch the drill, which is a little frustrating. Yeah, that's. Just broke it. What is occurring? Why is this happening all of a sudden? I think that maybe the needle's getting loose. Okay. Well, that's simple enough. All I gotta do is tighten that screw there. Guess I'll check the chat too. I'm sure no one said anything. Nope. Oh, maybe it was just it was off center there. Maybe that was the only problem. latch closed all the way. That'll do ya. So, pulling it out for a third time here. Getting a little frustrating. Let's see if we got it. Probably not. Gotta rethread this. It seems kind of tight. Every time it's breaking at the exact same spot. It's really weird. It's really weird. Alright, I'm going to try to go from the other direction and see if maybe it is just that I have too much glue in there. It's very frustrating when it breaks like this because you got to rethread this damn thing every time. I was doing way better. I don't understand why it's struggling so much now. Okay, we're going to try it from a different direction now. Yeah, there's no reason we can't do it down there. Yeah, okay, let's try it this way. Getting frustrated now. Starting to get pretty frustrated. Why is this happening? What is going on here? It's not even hitting a hard part. I don't understand. I don't think. This is screwed. I gotta cut this off. Oh, didn't expect this to be. I guess I should have expected this to be me battling with the machine. It's pretty much what it's been. My hand's right in the way. Well, the whole shoe is right in the way if I'm doing that. Let's see. I'm trying to get in the zone here now because I got to get this figured out. Why this isn't working. Now we're going backwards. What happened here? Okay, now when you turn, release the shoe, the foot, whatever you want to call it. The foot's on the shoe. I'm basically watching the edge of the shoe, trying to get it right along the edge. Oh my god, why is it doing that? Why is it doing this? That seems terrible. Gag. What is it hitting? Why is it doing? What are we hitting here? What's going on? Why are we doing this? Can't see it. What is happening? I'm gonna have to just restart it here. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it needs a new needle. It feels like it's. It seems like it's just hitting it, like it's colliding on itself. Frankly, is what it seems like to me. And like, I don't know if the leather is like pulling it that way. If it's like pulling it out of position, like pulling it to the side and then into the thing, depending on. I don't know. Let's try it. Let's just put a new. Let's put a new needle on it. I got a bunch. Oh. Well, it definitely looks chipped on the end, so that, I mean, I'm sure it has collided. Whether that's been the problem or not, I don't know, but either way. Okay, let's this is such a pain to get on here, too. Isn't my leather sewing machine great? And it is directional, too. There's a slot in it. Right? Yeah. Okay. It's going to be hard to see. Let's see if I can actually. You can actually see the slot. So that needs to be lined up. I had that backwards at one point, and that was screwing me up. But yeah, this needs to be facing away from the machine, where the thread comes through the top. This is such a nightmare. I wish I knew if there was a good way to do this. Come on. Come on. What else did I do? I think I made it basically as low as possible, but I don't fully remember that now. Where would that go on? Being now is not the time, please. Wow, that just cut me. Nice. That's a little sharp, I guess. Careful on that. I think this is supposed to be above. I really don't know. I don't think it matters. So what are we doing here? Alright, we're going to pull out the front stitch that I did. Go down from where we ended here. Pull this through this side. And it is pretty neat. You can get it, you really can line it up right on your original stitch, but the problem with that is that then you run the risk of going through your thread and screwing that up, so. Okay, now because I don't have this fully threaded, I only have it on the bobbin thread. It's not through the hole. I want to stroke it once. And pull this through. As so. And it broke. And it broke. Okay. Oh, I'm sure I'm doing something wrong. Just I have no idea what. I've learned some things about this machine, but now I have no idea what I'm doing wrong. That seam is so terrible. We don't have threaded yet. That's a problem. So what that tells me, when it's because it's grabbing the thread. That's what's happening. I'll try to explain like how this actually mechanically functions. See this nightmare here? So what's going on? Is that this is not. I'm just thinking about this for a second. So I'll show you this. This thing can be very not fun to get out sometimes. Now I just screwed up. Oh boy, now I'm in trouble. There's no good way to get this out of here. Is that where I went? I don't know. Alright, well, this is kind of a nightmare now. But essentially the idea is that got magnets popping everywhere here. Really breaking shit. inside of this chamber here, this little knife, this little hook here, comes through and grabs the thread that comes down via the needle after it slacks up a little bit. So like the needle comes down, it has it threaded, then it retracts a little bit, the thread comes loose, okay, it makes a little loop here, and then this comes through in an action and is supposed to hook that loop, and then that's the whole like interaction between the top and the bottom thread, okay? And like what was happening originally, and why was that happening originally? I think because I had it, the needle was like basically not like riding close enough to this for this to actually grab it, and I just don't understand like what has changed, like what's gone differently since I ran this literally just yesterday. I just don't get it. And now I'm pretty sure that this is in the wrong position. So like this lower part here, this needs to be in the right position or else it will not function right. So actually my chart is on the phone. Great. Let's see here. I'm gonna have to look up the God, that's so annoying. All right, 1 second. I'm actually gonna have to use my phone. All right, 1 second. Yeah, where's the? There it is. Okay. Okay. I got the right position now. I should actually be able to remember that now. Let me get this loaded back up. Let's see if there's any chats. Something. Someone said something. It doesn't look like a language I know. Sorry. That's okay. So this is in the right position. Yeah, very difficult. Very frustrating. Delightful. Ooh, what's that? Is that a giant chunk of freaking some thread? Okay. Are you gonna actually go in or not? this not go in now all of a sudden? I don't understand. Why will this not go in? Never had this problem. It's like it's not the right shape anymore. What the heck? I don't even understand this. First of all, I can't even really put it in there like this because it just, you need to spool it first. But what the heck, I can't even get it to. Getting a little frustrated now. Oh, great, and I forgot to. Yeah, dummy. You are such a dummy. Forgot to take it out of the spool, out of the bottom. You gotta do 2 holes here. You gotta do the bottom hole. It's backwards. Alright. Okay. I think that's right now. Alright. I should have re-spooled the bobbin at this point. Like halfway, but I just. That is one thing that I screwed up with the motorizing mod because this little doohickey here in the back, this little thing, normally somehow works as a bobbin loader. Actually, it might still work. No, it's not going to actually ride on it. You put the bobbin on here basically, and then you crank it to load up the thread on it. What I do is I just take, where'd they go now? Here. Just take these magnets, and then I put them on the end of a drill, and then I magnetize the bobbin to it and spool it up quick. Let's see if this threads. Are you gonna thread? Well, it did one. Look, where is it actually lining up on? It's coming really nice and flush, so it seems like it should be right. Okay. Let's go again. If it breaks again, now at this point, I'm probably going to call it quits for the night. Seems like it's really roughing up the thread. Yep, it's roughing it up. I don't get it. I see it. I can see it fraying like as it's coming out. Something's wrong. Just don't understand what. Well, I don't really know. I'm not sure what's going wrong with this. Every time it's coming out, it's frayed, which means that it seems like the hook is just not hooking it right. I mean, it was in the right position because it threaded at all, but it's just I don't understand why it keeps doing that. The stitching that it's making is actually pretty nice. This line here, like it looks pretty good. It got tightened up here because it was getting caught on the seam, which is always frustrating when it catches on a seam on the backside. You can't see it on the bottom. But the actual stitch is pretty nice. I just don't understand why it keeps fraying like that. One more try. One more try. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what is going on with this. Very frustrating. I think this hole might need to be a little bit bigger. Let's just try that quick. Or it just needs to be leaned down a little bit because I got some boogers on it. more try. One other thing I'm going to look at and just see that the height of this is good, because maybe it's too high. Let's see. Well, it's as big as I grabbed it, so I don't know. It's hitting the damn foot or something. Something is wrong. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to do some work off camera here, see what I can figure out. It's slowly just chewing it up. Interesting. Okay, all right. Well, a little bit of a frustrating end to this, but thanks a lot, guys, and probably do another show like this, at some point soon here. Shoes are pretty interesting. Once I figure out what's wrong with the machine, I'll do a video about it. There's lots of videos about these machines, like as far as how to tune them up and get them working properly. But maybe I'll figure out what's going wrong here. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.